I'd say I have a pretty amazing childhood. You know, grew up in a nuclear family.
Molly Martens is 10 years older than Connor.
I really grew up with Molly kind of being that older sibling, you know, watching over us.
When Connor was in middle school, Molly got a job in Ireland as an au pair for two children who recently lost their mother.
She had always really loved kids, so it seemed kind of like a natural fit.
Molly and the children's father, Jason Corbett, eventually fell in love, got married, and moved to Lexington, a small town in North Carolina, in 2011. And that is where Connor says things changed, and Corbett became physically abusive.
I was mostly shielded from that. It was, you know, kind of filtered through my mother.
Then, on August 2nd, 2015, Connor says he received a phone call he'll never forget.
And I could tell that he was really in shock.
His dad, Thomas Martens, told Connor what happened. His parents were in town visiting Molly and Jason.
And then they went to sleep, and he heard in the middle of the night screams upstairs, and he grabbed the bat.
Connor says his dad entered their bedroom, and Jason had Molly in a chokehold. A fight ensued.
My dad is wrestling with Jason. I think he may have been able to elbow him in the nose or something, and he's able to wrestle the bat. And then he hits him a couple more times, and he falls on the floor. And he immediately calls 911. They do CPR, and they rule that he has died. And he voluntarily goes to the police station, gives his statement, and Molly does as well.
Jason Corbett was pronounced dead. Initially, his death was ruled self-defense, but months later, Molly and Thomas Martens were both charged with second-degree murder and voluntary manslaughter.
The trial was extremely stressful, but we never could have imagined that outcome. There were very large things that were kept out of the trial.
Both Thomas and Molly were found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to up to 25 years in prison in 2017.
My dad said, you're going to be a good son. You're going to be a good brother. Sorry.
It's okay.
You're going to be a good husband. You're going to be a good father. And he gave me his wedding ring. And it felt like he was going to die in prison.
In 2020, a court of appeals overturned their convictions and granted them a retrial.
The North Carolina Court of Appeals said that they did not receive a fair trial on a number of fronts.
In a plea deal, they both pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter. And on June 6, 2024, they were released from prison and moved back to Knoxville.
My daughter's husband got in a fight with my daughter.
And now, on Friday, Netflix drops A Deadly American Marriage, a documentary about the case, examining whether it was self-defense or murder. How do you think your family is going to handle this whole, the press around this documentary?
I think that our family has experienced 10 years of this, so I think we're a really strong family, and regardless of what comes out, we'll continue to move on.
Connor says he sat down with Netflix for a 4-hour-long interview, but was recently informed his portion didn't make the final cut. Also featured in this documentary, Jason Corbett's sister and his children, Sarah and Jack, who haven't spoken to Molly since the death of their father. I tried to reach Jason Corbett's sister about her quest for justice and her brother's death. We did not hear back in time for air. And Connor and I, as you can imagine, talked a lot about this case. It's a 30-minute plus interview, and you can watch the extended version on WBIR+. He talked a lot about his sister and the relationship they had, and his dad. His dad was a longtime FBI agent here in town. At the time of the murder, he was working at ORNL with the top security clearance you can get.
Wow, and they've been dealing with this now for 10 years. I can only imagine.
Years.
And they're all back here in Knoxville.
They are all back here living in Knoxville, and he says doing well. I asked him, what is it like to have everybody know your personal business? He said it's definitely odd to adjust to, but he says the Knoxville community has been very supportive.
Tough, though, I'm sure. All right, Abby, thank you so much.